Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 153 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durek as per usual, and we're live on the Area 51 Sports Network Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter accounts. And we're also live on wherever you are listening to your podcast. So it continues to get worse. It continues to slide, whatever you want to call it, for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And play-in round looks more and more likely. And this time it was another loss at the hands of LAFC. And the way they just lost, they weren't terrible, but this one just stings. And it's so Whitecaps.
This one, again, a first half that you could have, you wanted a little bit more. Yes. A horrible start to the game. Credit to Bogusz and credits to I can't remember the name, the young LAFC
David
player
Martinez,
that cross.
It was David Martinez. Yeah.
Thank you. It was an absolutely phenomenal cross, but Bogusz just skinned Utvik. Utvik just couldn't keep up to him. He doesn't have the legs for that.
Yeah, well, Utvik is good in the air and clearing. He doesn't have pace. That's his flaw there, and it showed right there. And Bogusz, from a weird angle, it just fooled Yohei Takaoka, fooled everybody. And 34 seconds in, LAFC were up 1-0. And some people in the press box, I believe, they just sat down when that goal went in.
Yeah, kind of. It is one of those ones where people are still even just getting their seats in the regular stands, after grabbing their beers and whatnot. Second half was much better.
Much better.
Second half, they came alive. They were more progressive in their movement. One of the things that we've talked about with the Whitecaps over this whole tough run is they can get forward. Yep. They find their moments of the game where they can get forward, but it's once they get into that final third, it's like they're still trying to stretch the game rather than attack spaces. This one was better for attacking spaces. We can talk about Brian White. And just the amount of headers that, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Three or four beautiful chances.
Yeah, and these are goal chances that Brian White would score in his sleep, but it just wouldn't go in for him.
And that happens with him. He is a hot and cold striker, right?
Yeah.
We take a look at the very beginning of last year where he could not buy a goal, yet he was leading the league in XG.
Yeah, he did.
Right? It's one of those moments where that eventually he'll get out of it. And he is, I will say, good at not getting inside his own head. He is able to realize, look, I know it's going to happen eventually, but man, sometimes it's just when it finally does happen, it's just like it's the floodgates releasing.
Yeah,
let's just hope it happens, within a week or the next.
Yeah, let's hope it happens sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Because they need Brian White to get back to his scoring ways. But yeah, in that first half, going back to it, not enough creativity in the final third, not final touch, final pass. Still wasn't good enough. Though LAFC had the chance to go up 2-3-0.
Yeah.
Bogusz did score again, but one of his teammates fouled Raposo. And Yohei Takaoka made a good save on the corner kick. One of the defenders, I can't remember who. So, second half, much better. You were probably wondering, where was this the past 2-3 weeks? And the press was back. It was more active. Ball movement was much more fluid. And then a goal for the first time in what feels like forever.
Yeah.
Was changed to an own goal by...
Which I feel is a little bit harsh on Blackman, but okay.
It looked like Berhalter's free kick went off like the tip of Blackman's spikes of his hair.
It kind of, from obviously I was away, so I was watching it on TV. It looked like it went off like the top of his back.
Yeah, but it went off the LAFC defender.
It did hit a player afterwards. I don't think the deflection was enough to warrant an own goal, but yeah.
Yeah, and then the Whitecaps kept pushing and pushing, which was good to see. Which
the momentum, they had the momentum, right? But that can get deflated with a single play.
Yeah, and then stoppage time. It looked like we were heading for a draw, which we would have taken, given the amount of bad form, and a draw would have still been enough for top 6, top 7. But Giuseppe Bovalina gets skinned. LAFC go the other way. And this Nathan Ordaz, young LAFC player, just cuts Udvik alive. And then he finds, of course, it's K. Kamara, the ex-Whitecap.
The ex-every player.
Yeah, the ex-every player. And then Ilie Sanchez, the veteran, the captain of LAFC, he shoots and the ball beats Takaoka, hits the post and goes in. And then most of the people in the stadium just leave.
Let's be honest, that was an excellently placed shot.
Yeah.
No goalkeeper is going to go and get that. The bringing it off the inside of the bar like that from where he was. Also, you've stretched the play across the face of the goal. So not only does your goalkeeper have to reset, he's got to reset across the entire net. You do wonder, where's your defensive midfielder watching the top of the box?
Yeah, because
or where's your wing back, especially on Vandy's system, where the wing back is supposed to come in and provide cover on the opposite side. There's multiple players that could have, should have picked up Sanchez, but no one did.
Yeah, and
he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
that was a well played shot.
Laborda and Udvik just turned into turnstiles or whatever. Kai Kamara, like, credit to him for getting around Sebastian Berhalter.
Yeah.
And then there was all that space for Ilie Sanchez. I guess that should have been for Alessandro Schuff, because he was also after Kai Kamara. And then we all know what happened. I just stood there. Sat there in the press box. Like that scene from The Boys where Homelander's watching the movie and then the music cuts out and just goes this high-pitched ringing. That's what I was like just watching that.
This is what? No, 6 games without a win.
Yeah, 1 win since September. That was against San Jose.
There's been slumps before. They've gotten out of them before. But, and you can tell me what you think, does this slump feel different?
Yes. Given the stakes are higher, that they had the opportunity. Like last month, we were talking about, okay, this team can actually make top 4 and go on a run.
We were talking at that point that they could have a record point total for themselves in the MLS era.
Yeah, we were talking about, okay, maybe they could actually start the playoffs at home.
Yeah.
But, oh man, 8th place right now, it's the most likely according to all the odd sites. And the play-in round, which we've talked about that we did not want to play or have the Whitecaps play in, pun intended. Yeah. It's likely to happen.
It's likely to happen, and it's likely it's going to be Portland who they play.
Unless though 9th is also still possible. Like if the Whitecaps lose to RSL on Saturday and Portland beats Seattle.
I think there's also a possibility with Minnesota in that as well, who's sitting in that 7th spot. All 3 of those teams from 7th to 9th could switch on decision.
Minnesota is playing St. Louis, who are out of the playoffs, so there's this Delulu chance of Jake Nerwinski, Simon Betcher trying to help out their former team, but the Whitecaps have to take care of themselves.
Well, not only that, but the Whitecaps are going to have to play RSL. And RSL is not an easy team. There's a relationship with RSL because, that was the home away from home during COVID when the Whitecaps had to play all their home games in the United States. There is still that feeling. And, even people within the RSL organization have talked about that nice or that warm feeling when the Whitecaps come, because there is an appreciation for that, but no one's going to be doing any favors on decision day.
That game against LAFC, I mean, they were missing 6 starters.
Yeah.
And it was always going to be tough to win. That's why I said earlier a draw would have been massive, but
I think the thing that really, really burns is this game was not supposed to happen during an international break.
Yeah, and
it wasn't supposed to. We were supposed to have everyone because it was supposed to be back in August?
Yeah, after Leagues Cup.
Yeah,
but LAFC made the Leagues Cup final and lost to Columbus. So
I get having and I get it. They didn't have Denny Boanga. He was on international duty with Gabon, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the Whitecaps, and you know what? You can't make that the excuse. You knew that it was being rescheduled there. You knew, in all likelihood, who you were going to be missing. You had well over a month to try and figure it out.
Had over a week off, so the
over a week off, absolutely, something that they haven't had. I mean, having that week to train has been a luxury for the Whitecaps. But yeah, going back to the whole idea of, does this slump feel different? It does, and I think that difference was punctuated in the press conference.
Yes,
you were in the room. I watched it on the computer, but yeah.
All right, so Vanni Sartini, in the 3 years we've been covering the Whitecaps, even after a loss, he'd still show up, talk to us media, maybe make a joke or two. But this time, I have never seen him like this. Like, he was like mad, like steaming day ruined, man, which was understandable given what happened. Even before the press conference, he was like, all right, I want to do media now. I want to go home. And then he does media.
And just to let know, Vanni is never early to media. Vanni is always late, because usually he's in the dressing room. He's talking with the players, whatever he needs to talk about, whether it's congratulations or dressing him down. The fact that he was this early is already telling of something.
Yeah. So first question comes from friend of the show, a writer from Northern Tribune, AFT in Canada, host of Coast to Coast podcast, Felipe Vallejo, said, basically asked, oh, Vanni, your thoughts on the game could have gone either way at the end. Then Vanni cuts him off and says, no, Felipe, what you say is BS, and it couldn't have gone other way. So if you say BS, I'm not going to answer to you. And then credit to Felipe. He wasn't intimidated or anything, more like shocked.
Yeah.
But shortly after Vanni answered my question about conceding the late goal, Vanni spoke to Felipe and said, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have answered like that. And I guess all was forgiven.
In what I was able to see, obviously, because I'm only watching, from the beginning of the press conference to the end. So I didn't see the stuff at the end, or at the beginning or the end. From what I saw is that there was at least 2 apologies within the press conference. Yeah. And what I want to say also is, first of all, good. You do something like that, you apologize. That's good. Credit to Felipe.
Yes, credit.
Because Felipe took his time. He waited a day, kind of started to see what people were doing as comments, and he made a good small series of posts. Just say, look, here's what I think. I'm the one this happened to. Anyone else saying anything else, stop it.
Yeah, and he's basically
he just kind of put it to bed right there. He also wrote about it in his post-game write-up in the Northern Tribune, addressed it there again as well. And I got to say, credit to him. I think it was a very mature and reasoned response. Get a chance, check it out.
Yeah, and basically said the man is under pressure. Vanni, we all know that he loves to wear his heart on his sleeve, whether it's during wins and losses. He's feeling the pressure. Frustration is mounting. So in some ways, like Felipe said, you can't really blame Vanni for going off like that, but good on Vanni for apologizing like 2 minutes later.
I didn't get the impression that Felipe was letting Vanni off the hook in terms of saying, oh, don't worry about it, these things happen. It was more of just like, it did happen, but you understand, and you made the apology, and we've talked about it. We didn't just let it die. We talked about it, we've resolved it. Everyone else should just take note, because it didn't happen to anyone else. It happened to the 2 people in this room. That's it.
Yeah, and should also note there were 2 fans who won a VIP experience, like could be in the press box and be in the media room for the press conferences. Yeah, they got quite the show.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, in some ways, Felipe was kind of right with being in stoppage time. It could have gone either way, because
I agree with Felipe. I'm happy that the Whitecaps were on the front foot, but we know LAFC's transition game.
Yeah, and
you give them the ball, and 2 seconds later, it's down the field, right?
That's literally what happened.
So quick. They are so quick, and all of their players know where to go. So they're not just running straight. They're running into position. They're running into those pockets. They're finding space, and they're giving 1, 2, 3, 4 options, right?
Right.
And it is so quick in how they do it. And that's why they're lethal.
And they made use of the flanks.
Absolutely.
LAFC. That's what they've done against the Whitecaps.
Don't get me wrong. The Whitecaps are an amazing crossing team, the number of crosses they put in. But the problem is when they're crossing those balls in the box, the Whitecaps are giving 1, maybe 2 chances. Do you remember last year how many times I talked about where's the second man?
Yeah,
where's the second man? If that ball gets past the first guy, where's the second person picking it up? Because there are so many goals that are wasted because you didn't have someone following and trailing.
Yeah, we saw that again.
We can talk about that even in this game because with the amount of chances Brian White had, and yes, he did get contact, but say one of those, any one of those, and you've got a second man there, I don't know. There are chances. And I know that he was playing with 2 9s at the top. Like you had Levante Johnson up there as well.
Yep.
We talked about this being Levante Johnson's year, that he's got to prove himself. I don't know if he has. And
no.
Again, I felt at the top, Brian White was left having to do all the work on himself, which again is something that can play in your head as well.
Right. Like there's no Fafa to be the second man because he has been, or Ryan Gauld.
Yeah,
so Levante Johnson had to step up. Honestly, barely noticed him outside of a few good runs or passes in that game.
A couple of plays I did notice it and credit. I was like, okay, you know what? Good effort. That's what you can say about Levante Johnson. Good effort. You got an A for effort. But I just don't know if that effort is being utilized in the right places. Right?
Right. And Brian,
there's a soccer intelligence thing there that I don't know. It's we're to the outside looking in. We get the ability of hindsight. I get all that, but you do feel at the age of 25 and you're still trying to break into a team.
I get he was a late bloomer, but
absolutely.
And I said this before, but with Nicolas Flourier-Chateau signed from the second team, I have my doubts about Johnson coming back next year.
I do as well. As we've talked about, Johnson, this is the final year of his contract. He's got an option for another year.
He's got an option, yeah.
But with Nico already being signed to the first team, because he got signed to the first team after his 3 short-term contracts, him and another player whose name is escaping me, midfielder.
Vodwald, but he's a midfielder.
Exactly. So I think Nico is that third striker for next year.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to worry about Canadian contingent. He covers that. So Johnson is free to go apply his trade elsewhere. And don't get me wrong. I think he will. I don't think you might see him kind of enter. I don't know. Would he be eligible for the waiver draft?
I'm not.
The re-entry draft. The re-entry draft, I think it would be.
Maybe. I'm going to look into that later.
Yeah, not the waiver. I think it's the re-entry. But if he doesn't get picked up, USL, CPL, I can see him tearing up. I can see him tearing up the CPL with his speed.
Yep. I saw a take a few months ago where someone said he wouldn't make it to CPL, and I thought that's BS.
No, it's absolute BS. You got to remember, I mean, the one thing is at the beginning of the year, when Johnson was only getting little bit pieces here and there, his goal conversion rate per 90 minutes was phenomenal because he wasn't getting that many minutes. So over a 90-minute time, it was weird because people were already having questions of him. And it was like, well, he's actually doing better than every other, person on the team for goal scoring conversion. But the thing is, he can't keep it up. And you feel like he's just getting lucky. Go back a couple of years ago when that was Simon Betcher's role. Betcher, you had a lot more belief in that he would put the ball in the net. He was getting into those positions because he was attacking far post. Johnson isn't.
He's poaching. Yeah, Johnson's not a poacher like Betcher was.
No.
Sorry.
I would have no problem seeing him in the CPL. I think he would do very well.
Yeah. And just that game, another big crowd, another loss, and
Upper Bowl open.
0-2 in the 4-game pack, which was LAFC, Inter Miami, obviously, the home opener against Charlotte, and the Austin game. I mean, just looking at those 4 games as a whole, performance-wise, I mean, obviously could have been better. The Austin game, I still think they should have won that game. They just couldn't score.
I think we
Got some
all think
dodgy
that.
luck with VAR.
Well, that was one
But
of those games where you're holding your head in your hands and you're wondering, how did that happen?
yeah, and the home record this year, 6-4-7. Not good.
It's just bang average. And the thing is the Whitecaps are usually known for having a home record. This year it was the complete opposite. You need people to fear coming to your building, and that did not happen this year.
Yeah, and it's just given the fact this is the 50th year, season ticket renewals, I believe, are happening as we speak.
They are. And it's not only that, but you finally got the crowds back. The average attendance this year is miles ahead of what it was last year and previous years.
I believe
you've got people back in the seats. You had people at the beginning of the season excited. And at points in the season, you had that excitement. It was maintained. It has come off the rails.
Yeah, and if I was like a casual coming up to these games and seeing the Whitecaps lose all these games, would I want to come back next year? No, I'd probably spend my time doing something else or watching another sport or whatever.
For a casual that maybe you're not too, you're still learning the game. Yeah, these past 6 or so games would be very, very difficult to watch. There are moments that are exciting for us to watch, even if it is no goals happening in that. Sometimes you want to watch good football just for the sake of watching good football. Some of the best games you've ever seen have been 0-0 draws. But for the casual, you want to see goals, and you want to see them for your team. That hasn't been happening. The Whitecaps aren't scoring. Yeah, they're not scoring. If you don't score, you don't win. So,
not only that, there's this tweet yesterday, 2 days ago, from infamous Twitter guy Mike Martinego. I'm going to share my screen here. This is very, very alarming, to say the least. Look at the Whitecaps' recent results. They have not beaten a team above them in the standings since the 3rd of July, Minnesota United. And these wins, as you can see, were mostly against bottom feeders. This is the wins all season. So the only teams they beat twice were the worst teams in the West, San Jose.
Look at how many of those teams are Western Conference teams.
Yeah, and there's TFC.
One of them is
that's the
TFC.
only outlier.
Yeah.
And we all know how poor TFC are. And Seattle, let's not forget that win. They were up by 2 men.
Yeah.
Colorado.
Don't get me wrong. They were dominating that game. Like, Seattle came off the rails in that game. Whitecaps were always going to win that even without the red cards. But Seattle, I can't explain that
score
on Seattle's side. Yeah.
They didn't score until they were down a few men. Colorado, this was a scrappy game that looked like it could have been a draw, but if not for a last-minute winner by Dubir Krylak.
That is, yeah.
Portland, I believe this was April. They blew a 2-0 lead, but thankfully won the game in the end.
Yeah.
So this is very alarming just as a whole. And if you dig deeper, look into this more, 8th in the West seems right. I don't want to say, but it seems right.
I think
mid.
You and I are going to get really in depth into this once the season is over. We take a look at individual players and their contributions. We take a look at what an off season needs to be for the Whitecaps. And there's going to be a lot of questions, I think, that you and I are going to have that are going to just about, and they're not just going to be about the player roster.
Yeah.
They're going to be about other things as well. And let me just say it right now. I am not Vanny out.
I shouldn't have a say because I'm media and I shouldn't really call for a coach's head.
No.
But if you ask me, it's tough because maybe it's the Chelsea fan in me that's seen more coaches get fired than Canadian prime ministers and U.S. presidents combined in my lifetime. But firing a coach always is a knee-jerk reaction. And let's face it, football is a results-based business.
Yeah.
So is any other sport. But think about this: if they fire Vanny at the end of the season, one, who's out there that's going to replace him? You don't want a downgrade or somewhere his level. You want an upgrade. Right now, I can't think of anybody. Two,
yeah, go ahead.
Can you find a coach that plays a similar system to him? I doubt it, because Vanny's system is very unique. And if they bring in another coach, means new system, and it would also mean an overturn in personnel. So maybe bye-bye back three, bye-bye high pressing, fast transitions. So it's tough here because, maybe a new coach, a new voice could help get this team to the next level. You've seen it many times in football and in any other sport. But the players are so married to the system Vanny has, and it's not like Vanny lost the dressing room.
No,
here.
I don't think so either.
That's completely untrue. I mean, the players love playing under him, and they believe in the system because when we've seen the system working, it is beautiful. Like
I'll say this: I think whether you're a fan, whether you're media, it doesn't matter. These are you can't. Yeah, you don't want to call for anything, but I think at this stage, asking the question is legitimate.
Yeah, because I would think it would be considered by the front office at this point.
I feel like a lot of that was playing into that press conference.
Yeah.
We've seen Vanny angry before. We've never seen him lash out.
Yeah.
You kind of get that distinction, right? And I think a lot of it is because he is feeling pressure from above. And I think it's legitimate. I think, like you said, this is results-based. You don't have that many games where you can be judged on, and you've got to make your challenges. I don't know what the average tenure is for an MLS coach, but I do remember seeing in the NHL, they said the average tenure for a hockey head coach, it's something like it's just under 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to think Vanny, he's past that.
Right. And MLS coaches don't last long unless you're Peter Vermees.
Yeah, Vermees. Like that guy is going to die, and then they'll just use his body and bronze it as a statue in front of the Sporting Stadium.
Yeah, but at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Like at the end of the season, I think Axel, Quinn Thompson, and everybody else will. Well, once the season ends, like let's say they go out in the first round, play in whatever, it will be a long and hard thought decision on Vanny.
There's going to be a conversation, no doubt. And like I said, we're going to get into this more at the once all the games are done and whatnot. But I don't see it happening. And the reason is because there were certain benchmarks for this season. Win can champ, make the playoffs. And that was basically in terms of performance was that he the other one is win a playoff round.
That's to be determined.
That's to be determined. So if that happens, we can say, you know what, you hit the benchmarks.
Another
you
goal
didn't wow anyone. You didn't exceed. But if you hit benchmarks, it becomes difficult to fire someone when they said, well, I did. Like the metrics you supplied, I did.
Yeah. Look, best case scenario that the Whitecaps somehow go on a run in the playoffs. Vanny's job is safe. We'll forget this conversation ever happened because winning cures all.
It does. That's true. All right. RSL on deadline day. Not an easy game. RSL sitting third in the West. Again, a team above them.
Yeah, and this will be the return of Damir Kreilach to Rio Tinto Stadium. As we know, he's been fan favorite there over the past 6 years, but more importantly, it's going to be a tough game for the Whitecaps. RSL, they want to secure that top 4 position, so don't expect them to play their B team here. So
no,
they're going to come out firing and want to finish third because they're neck and neck on points with Seattle Sounders.
Yeah. Before we go and wrap up with Whitecaps, we should talk about the game last night. The Whitecaps Girls Elite Academy were playing
Yep.
their next game in the round for the CONCACAF W Championship Cup. Portland Thorns and Christine Sinclair in town.
Yeah. So credit to the Whitecaps Girls Elite Academy. That first half had a couple of good chances. One hit the post. One was saved by the Portland goalkeeper. But again, it's an NWSL team against an academy team. Portland Thorns, they come alive and end up beating the Whitecaps girls 6-0, but no one's upset about that. No one's, this was all a learning experience for the girls.
Yep.
And I'm sure they've learned a lot in this tournament, and they did win a game. So,
well, and that's just it. Is I think before we got to this group stage round, everyone expected this group to kind of be decimated, and the whole idea was like just go and play and learn. They won a game, and the thing is, they were in other games. They were ugly, but they were expected. This is something that you're gonna learn from this experience, and I don't think you can fault.
Can't really fault anyone.
No.
I mean, but credit to the Thorns, credit to Izzy Daquila. Like, was that 2 goals and 3 assists? But of course, she had to score. The greatest had to score in her hometown. In her final game in her hometown and in Canada, Christine Sinclair in the 85th minute off the corner just finds the loose ball and slots it in. Everyone at BC Place applauds. I was applauding from home. I mean, that's what most people pretty much came to see anyway. And salute to Christine Sinclair. That was 1 goal out of many in her incredible career.
Yeah. Write books on what she's been able to do, right?
I mean, maybe she could even write a book one day. You never know.
Who knows? Maybe, right?
I mean, probably a lot of great stories over the years. And
all right, national teams.
National teams. So Canada played last night, the men's team against Panama in Toronto. I don't know. Wasn't a terrible game, but sloppy game, physical game, typical CONCACAF. Might have been the worst performance under Jesse Marsh, but that doesn't mean it was terrible. It means it could have been better.
Yeah.
But in the end, a win is a win. Sure, it's a friendly, but they won.
Nice thing is both Jonathan David and Kyle Laren both got on the score sheet for Canada. Both of them passed the 30-goal mark. First players in Canadian men's history to do that for country. Great to see. It's great to see both of them getting on that sheet again. We know that Laren had kind of slowed a little bit, but nice to see them going on. It's nice also that in terms of what that men's record is, they're challenging each other. One gets a goal, the other one has to now.
Yeah, and Laren was right at the right place, right time. Credit to Istachio and David for forcing the Panama turnover.
Yeah,
but it was Ali Ahmed who got the assist, so also good for the Vancouver Whitecap. But when I say sloppy, I mean there were a lot of bad passes, just some poor decision-making, giveaways, and the midfield kind of let Panama counter easily. Like, we saw that on the Panama goal. Like, they just were open. And then Max Crepeau was beaten. But in the end, it led to Jonathan David, who started it and finished it, who found Liam Miller, who looked pretty lively when he came on. Miller found David, and that ended up being the winning goal.
Late in the game, you take it. And it was also nice. This is Justin Marsh's first game that he's coaching on Canadian soil. And it's game number, 10 for him?
Yeah. And also, man of the match, Moise Bombito. I mean, this guy, he just continues to get better and better.
He is moving into that category of elite center backs. I'm not going to go higher than that, but elite center backs.
Like, when Panama were on the transition at times, and Bombito was running behind, you knew he was going to get there. Because that man has pace. A lot of it. And then, just looking back at the game, some players, sure, they could have done better. Like Schaffelberg, I don't think was up to the standard that he set for himself. And sure, Ali Ahmed got the assists, but slowly grew
also
into the game.
Talking about assists on the last goal, Liam Miller coming in.
Yeah.
Off the bench. I thought that was an excellent cross just to set up.
Yeah.
The last goal. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just it's a friendly, but it was
a friendly in CONCACAF is never just a friendly.
Yeah, because we saw a lot of physicality, a lot of bad tackles. Also good to see Kwasi Poku come off the bench, even just for like 2 minutes. CPL represent. And I thought Nathan Saliba looked very good in the midfield. He held the fort down the best he could.
Good.
With his blocks and clearances. And then Theo Bear, nice to see him off the bench. And sure, I kind of wish we saw like the younger guys like Olawase, Santiago Lopez, Luke DeForgeois, but you only have 5 subs anyway.
Yeah.
Or 6 rather, because there were 6.
In this friendly, I mean, you can just decide how many you want to have, but they got to stick with what they've decided. Yeah,
and overall, good win for Marsh and his team. The press looked very active, though frantic at times. I mean, I like what Alexandre Gange-Ruzic, friend of the show, One Soccer, called it in an article he wrote back, where he analyzed the press, the maple press. I think we're calling that from now on.
The maple press. Okay.
I mean, like Jesse Marsh is a huge press guy, and I love teams to press, so why the hell not?
It's a very active way of playing, right? You're not sitting back and trying to absorb anything. It's when things are coming at you, you're trying to do it very, very quick. You're trying to win balls back in their defensive third, and I do like that as well.
But the problem, I mean, with any pressing team is that you leave your defense, you leave the wide areas exposed, and we saw that Panama just counterattacking. Thankfully, it only led to 1 goal, but there's a lot to learn from there.
Yep.
So that's the men. The women have announced their roster like 2 hours ago for their upcoming friendly against Spain. Good to see Olivia Smith back on there after her problems with injuries. A lot of names you expect to see on there, like, your Heidemas, your Grossos, your Jills, your Beckys, and all that. But nice to see Simi Awuju become a regular.
Yeah.
Because she's still quite young. Nice to
see a couple of names not on there just because they're out due to injury. Quinn, still injured.
More on her later.
Sydney Collins, Jada Riviere. So, names that we have come to expect, unfortunately not making this roster this time.
But it's also, we should mention, the interim coaching staff has formed. Andy Spence from the Olympics, Jen Hurst, Neil Wood, they'll return. But there's a name that, if you're a Whitecaps fan, should be familiar with. Caitlin Collar, who's the head coach of the, as we mentioned, Girls Elite, is an interim technical assistant.
Yeah.
Along with Maurice Bard Martel and Diana Matheson.
Diana Matheson, Canadian superstar and founder of the Northern Super League.
Yep.
So they'll be joining on an interim basis for at least this window. We'll have to see what happens beyond the October window.
Yeah, and it's Spain, like reigning World Cup champions, one of the best teams in the world. Good test for Canada.
Absolutely. This game's going to be in Spain.
Yeah,
but you know what? Good. Hostile environments is something that you need to do.
Almadrilejo, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure where it is in part of Spain, but it seems like a nice place.
So. Yeah.
The CPL, one more match day. This weekend is decision day. Every team is playing at the same time. If you don't have One Soccer, I believe the games will be free on their YouTube. So,
cool.
The BC teams, as we like to focus on, Vancouver I think they could have beat Valor in this game just from watching, the highlights. I didn't get to see it because I was at the Whitecaps game. But man, Vancouver had so many chances against Valor. I mean, they had 4 shots on target, 8 total. But that second half, they were playing such a high line where it almost worked. I mean, Alejandro Diaz got the tying goal, but it led to the opening goal by Valor, which it just left one defender exposed, and then Sean Hundle finds Jordan Ferreira, and he just beats Callum Irving.
Yeah.
But Vancouver kept pushing and pushing and pushing, as it seemed. Alejandro Diaz got the game tying goal. But, oh man, they could have had more. Gabriel Bitar had a chance to win the game on his foot, but he blasted it over the bar. So it would feel like a missed opportunity for Vancouver FC. Pacific, though, they won their game. It was an away game to a team that's already in the playoffs, York United. They slowly grew into the game. Oswaldo Leon got the goal for York before halftime, but in the second half, Pacific got better. They looked more fluid. They looked more composed. And it was Ryan Moore who got the first goal off the corner kick, just taps it in. And the 88th minute, being the target guy once again, he finds it and beats the York United goalkeeper, Vincenzini. So 2 goals in like 6 minutes for Ryan Moore. And that's 3 massive points for Pacific FC. So as the table stands, heading into the final match day, I'll share the screen again so you can all have a decent look. So Pacific have the final playoff spot, 31 points, but Vancouver, Valor, and Halifax are still behind them, though it seems like Halifax's chances are the lowest. But I think it comes down to these 3. Any one of these 3 could have that final playoff spot by the end of this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's definitely a tight table. It's kind of like the Whitecaps, fighting for those final few spots too, right?
Right. And Pacific play Forge on the final day. I mean, Forge, they lost to Atletico Ottawa. They pretty much looked disinterested anyway in that game because they already clinched the shield. So maybe Pacific can take advantage of that. And as for Vancouver, they play Atletico Ottawa in Ottawa. Pacific will be at home to Forge.
Yeah.
And Valor, for them, they will be playing Cavalry at home.
Absolutely. Before we move on across the pond, I do want to just bring up, it has now been announced who Canada, the men's national team, is going to be playing in the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Nations League.
Really? All right.
So coming up November 19th in Toronto over 2 legs, Canada's going to be faced Suriname.
Okay.
Suriname had just beat Guyana 5-1 to finish second in the Group A in CONCACAF League A rankings. So that is where they get to go into the quarterfinals, and they set up a 2-legged race. That game also should move Canada. The reason why they're going to be facing Suriname is because Canada now jumps, I believe it's Panama that they jump over, but they will be higher up, and they're the second-ranked CONCACAF team in
they are
rankings now. So
just
that is
below Mexico, as I've seen, because the Mexicans beat the United States also last night, and it's Suriname, but no team should be taken lightly, and
no team should be taken lightly.
Canada should.
Nations League, it's quarterfinals. This is a chance for Jesse Marsh, to grab some hardware.
Yep,
I'll take it.
We'll take it, and it should be a big test for all these players. So, not much for our European teams because it's international break, and for Chelsea. There's not really any other stories that it's worth talking about. No, the shirt sponsor is still not confirmed, and no, there aren't really any transfer rumors that are credible because the ones that I've seen are absolute bogus and aren't worth talking about. But what is worth talking about little here is Reece James is back in first team training. Who? Yeah, Reece James, that guy. The guy that's always injured, that always has hamstring issues, and is still the club's captain. He's back in training, and I think Chelsea fans would be celebrating like we've won a trophy if Reece James plays more than 5 games in a row. without getting injured or suspended.
That guy, I know. He spends more time on the trainer's bed than anything else.
Yeah. And Chelsea have Liverpool and Anfield this weekend. Always a tough test, especially now considering Arne Slot has his team first in the Premier League table. Anfield, always a hostile atmosphere, but it'll be interesting to see how Maresca's high pressing, fast counter attacking system goes against a style of play that's more or less similar. And maybe this game we could see some fireworks on both ends, but it's going to be tough because Liverpool's attack is also pretty lethal. And if Chelsea win this game, if they somehow win this game, I'll say title race is on. But at this point, I'll take a draw.
Fair enough.
But if Chelsea lose, it better be a close one, not a blowout.
Chelsea is doing well. I mean, it's going to be a tough game either way. Where is this game?
In Anfield, as I said.
Okay.
I don't.
That's going to make it a bit more difficult.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult test for Maresca and his team.
Yeah.
So, and thankfully, nobody got injured over the international break. So, praise be.
Yeah, no doubt.
This is a tough stretch for Chelsea coming up. Now, after the Liverpool game, there's Panathinaikos, the Greek team in the Conference League. They're going to go to Greece, by the way. And then Newcastle at home the week after the Liverpool game. And then a few days later, EFL Cup round of 16, Newcastle away.
Yeah.
And then there's Manchester United at Old Trafford. Oh, yeah, it's Manchester United. They have all sorts of their problems, but still, you got to take care of business.
You still got to beat them.
Yeah, and then Noah, that team, I forgot which country, but apparently that Conference League team at the Bridge on the 7th. And then a big test, Arsenal at the Bridge.
What's the team's name?
Noah.
I
forgot which country they're based in.
Yeah, I'd have to look that one up. I'm not too sure.
It's like Eastern Europe somewhere.
Gotcha.
Maybe closer to Asia. So, tough test for Chelsea coming up. Team's relatively healthy. I expect points to be picked up. I expect good football. I expect more learning and growing and upwards progression. So, Tottenham, there's at least you guys have transfer rumors. And
yeah, there's some. The big ones are coming out. Again, Real Madrid starting to look at Tottenham players because, that's kind of what Real Madrid does. The big thing that's really hurt Real Madrid is the horrible knee injury to Danny Carvajal.
Yeah,
he's out for the season.
Yeah, definitely.
He's out, right? So their prime replacement that they're looking at possibly in January is Pedro Porro. These rumors are getting so big that Porro actually had to comment publicly on them.
Yeah.
Basically just saying, like, look, you're attached to a team like Real Madrid. Obviously, that's really, really nice. Down the road, who knows? But, right now, my priority is with Spurs.
Fair enough.
We'll go with that. The other guy is interest on Cristiano Romero has not stopped either.
That guy's been getting a lot of interest.
This goes back to the summer. Again, Romero has been putting up some of the best numbers for a center back, not only in England, but across all the top 5 leagues of Europe. And I mean, we kind of know what he said facetiously back in the summer. He's like, if Real Madrid wants me, they can buy me on EA Sports.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But those are 2 big ones coming up. There's a couple of players that Spurs are looking at. Again, midfield and wingers. Nothing that I'm going to really write home about right now, but a few things that, irons in the fire. We'll see what happens in January. In terms of schedule, this weekend is going to be at home to West Ham. London Derby, not an easy game. West Ham, I believe, is sitting in 12th. Spurs are a few spots above them. Spurs got to get back to winning ways. That Brighton match just before the break was calamitous. It was disgusting to watch. The fact that you're 2-0 up and then you allow a team like Brighton 3 goals in the second half should not happen at all. Postecoglou said it was the worst half of football the team's played in his tenure. And yeah, he's right. So
It
they got to
was.
find a way to figure that out. Midweek game, Europa League. I think they go by AZ, even though it's AZ.
Yeah.
Alkmaar.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Dutch
So
team.
they'll be coming up. Crystal Palace back, and then to wrap up October, EFL Cup at home, Manchester City. So
Well,
we
there's
got
a
the draw
chance.
of Manchester City. It's at home, so there's
You know,
that.
Tottenham and Man City in cup competitions.
Yeah,
They've had the upper hand in recent years.
they've had the upper hand, but in the last one, possibly two games, Man City has found their way again.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see.
See if Tottenham can get back on form and see if Ange Postecoglou can right the ship after the international break.
Being that it's a Premier League, your two Premier League games to round out this are both London games. Crystal Palace, West Ham. You should be winning those.
Yeah. So the NWSL has a new club, and the City of Sports, the City of Champions, whatever you want to call it, Boston Nation Football Club, which I think is a lame name, in my opinion, but that was not the worst of it. The unveiling video has a lot of criticism, and it's justified because they said this town has too many balls, and they apparently forgot that Boston has a PWHL team, the Boston Fleet. So Boston Nation is not the first women's team.
They also have a professional tackle football team, the Boston Renegades.
Yep, them too. And Quinn, Canada midfielder and Seattle Reign midfielder, commented this on Instagram. She pretty much said, this seems transphobic.
Yeah.
It pretty much was.
It's very, very sloppy. First of all, it's not even accurate. Like, let's just do that. It's not even accurate.
It's not accurate.
Right? It's gender is not used today when you're trying to be, do some sort of team introduction or be facetious or not like that, especially when you're talking about something like the NWSL, which is a very, very popular and growing league, but is also very, very popular in, LGBTQ plus circles. That shouldn't matter, but it should also inform how you present things. It's just
poorly worded. Yeah, very poorly worded. And they came out and said, yeah, we missed the mark on this. Apologize to the LGBT plus community and everybody that will hurt. But I don't know if the video is still up, because as of last night, it was still up on their Twitter.
Was it? Oh, I thought
account.
It got taken down.
I think it might have been taken down by now.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen it, but it was just poorly worded and insensitive.
Let's put it this way. As far as a brand new team, they can only go up.
Yeah, because this is not a good start. And you know what also was triggering? They said they put the Boston Bruins in the video and said, this is a round ball. I'm like, the puck is not a ball. It's a puck. That, I don't know, that triggered me, and probably should for you too, because you played hockey.
I've gotten used to it. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, like, the puck's not a ball. Come on. So, But overall, this thing was just poorly handled, poorly worded, and Boston can only go up from here.
It's a bad name.
The name is lame to me.
Boss Nation? That sounds like the name of a supporters group that had no creativity. That shouldn't be the name of the team.
It sounds like a poor esports team.
Yeah,
like Fortnite or whatever.
Yeah, there's nothing about this that wows. Let's put it that way. And I will say that the unveiling of the teams in the Northern Super League all did much better.
Oh, 100%.
There are names in the Northern Super League that I'm kind of on. Crest, some kind of on. But wow, do they, compared to this, they knocked it out of the park.
Yep. Boston dropped the ball, but they can only go up from here. So Jurgen Klopp has a new job. He's not
Yeah.
managing a team, but starting in January, he will be the head of global soccer for Red Bull and its clubs. And of course, a lot of people hate this because a lot of people hate Red Bull, RB Leipzig, and all
It's
that.
the German thing, and it's
Especially the
also
German.
because you have Jurgen Klopp, who had managed Mainz and Borussia Dortmund. RB Leipzig is the team everyone in Germany hates.
More than Bayern.
They
Way more than Bayern.
Yeah, more than anything else. They hate them because of how Red Bull got around the whole ownership and naming laws that are a part of Bundesliga football.
Yep.
Yeah, and they feel like this is a betrayal, especially teams with or people that are associated with Borussia Dortmund. Like, there was a couple of former players that said when they saw this, they thought it was a joke.
Yeah, and I saw like on some like on Reddit or Twitter, some Dortmund fans were like, it would have been more tolerable if Klopp went to Bayern. But
Yeah.
this I can't stand. And it's also the whole thing because Leipzig is a new-ish club, like 15 years. They pretty much bought their way up, and they have the multi-club model, and it's more like a marketing brand. So, yeah, you can get why people in Germany absolutely just despise Leipzig.
Look, I get why people in Germany despise them. There's a different history when it comes to sport in Germany than there is here. For me here, and for the how sport runs here, and how everyone ends up moving around, and how trades are done, and everyone they play for your enemy and all that stuff. I don't really care, but I also know that I am a product of North American sports.
So am I.
Yeah,
I'm like multi-club models, like in North American sport, it's the norm.
And not only that, but players, coaches, managers, whoever playing for your arch enemy when they've already done for you happens.
Yeah, it happens. But at least Klopp has a job, and takes the pressure off coaching. But I've heard there's a clause that he can leave that position if the German national team coaching job opens up. But It doesn't look like Nagelsmann will leave.
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Nagelsmann's still still feel like he hasn't had that job for that long. So
like a year. So
yeah.
But another German has a big job.
Yeah.
And that is Thomas Tuchel. He is the new England manager.
This seemed to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Yesterday morning, I was seeing reports that he was being interviewed for the job. Afternoon, he had it.
Yeah. I saw over a few days. He was negotiating.
It was fast, right? And this is after there had been reports all before saying, oh, England's going to wait until the summer because Pep's their number one guy. So they're going to wait until the summer after he's done with Man City, and then they're going to go there. Yes, there's all these other people that could be there. We're looking at Graham Potter. Yes, we're looking at Eddie Howe. Yes, we're looking at, who knows, Frank Lampard, believe it or not. But no, Pep's our guy. We can wait.
But nope, they went with the best. I thought, after the years, they should hire the best coach available. They did.
It's kind of funny. Tuchel in his press conference, someone asked him, like, you are only the third non-English manager to manage the English national team. What do you think? That he basically said, I'm sorry, or he apologized for having a German passport.
Yeah, I mean they had Sven-Goran Eriksson during the golden era. That failed.
Yeah.
And Fabio Capello, like over a decade ago.
Yep. Who ruled?
He did all right.
Fist.
Yeah. So
the thing England's going to have to get used to, first off, Tuchel's a different sort of guy. He's a lot more fiery than someone like a Southgate. Right? Southgate's
he's a very, very demanding guy.
Very demanding. Very demanding. There was a video that had just resurfaced back when he was still coaching in Germany of him just absolutely unleashing on a player.
Yes, that video.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think I'll tell you right now, is the people that are going to be very happy about this are people in Bayern Munich, because part of the deal was if Tuchel doesn't have a job, they still had to pay out his old contract. Now that he has a job, I think the payments from that deal drop by about $3 million.
So Bayern Munich staff are
Yeah.
celebrating.
Yeah, they have a little bit less or more money, right? They don't have to pay it out to Tuchel. I think it's a good hire,
Yep.
but I don't think you can say much more than that until you see what England does.
Because I'm interesting to see what kind of system he sets up. Because from his time at Chelsea, he loved the back three wing backs. But elsewhere, he has played a back four. He is a guy that's willing to experiment, to change things up. Like he doesn't stick to one system.
No.
Once he realizes something isn't working, he switches.
I mean, he loves English football. Like his time with Chelsea, what he did with Chelsea, I think he did quite well. He also moved towards favoring English players. He understands the players that he is going to have available to him. It's nothing new. It's like Jesse Marsh coming into Canada. I mean, the guy had managed in Canada before. You know, you already have a little bit of that relationship already. I think that's going to help him immensely.
Yeah, and I don't get this narrative where people are saying, "Oh, Tuchel's a defensive coach. He plays a back five." No, it's not just defensive. He plays structural defense, but it's based on patience and possession. Sure, that's boring, but boring doesn't matter when it works.
The back three model when they don't have the ball and seeing a back five, right? Like it's a transitional model, right? It's different systems with and without the ball.
It's very pragmatic, possession based. It's not ultra defensive like Mourinho or Conte.
Oh no, you don't want that. Conte. Oh, that was. I still have PTSD of those two guys managing Tottenham.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he handles the England squad. Like, does he go with the wingbacks? Does he go with the back four? Like, where does he play Saka? Where does he play Foden, Bellingham?
How does he bring in Cole Palmer? Because you have a lot of firepower up top. What's going to be interesting is who's his goalkeeper? How does he line up his defense?
How does who are there any names that are on the radar that we don't know about or don't know much about that he could possibly call up? And the thing with Tuchel is when he leaves his jobs, it's because he has fallouts with ownership.
Yeah.
This is a national team. He doesn't have to worry about all that too much, and he has a lot of freedom.
He's going to have to worry about the FA. That's about it. And also a greater amount of fans.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pressure here because I read last night being the boss of the England men's national team is almost the equivalent of being prime minister.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tuchel, he's faced pressure before. Like, he's managed Chelsea, PSG, Bayern, and Borussia Dortmund. High-pressure clubs.
Yeah.
Sure, this is different, national team, but I think he'll do well. And if he integrates his system in the way he wants to, I think England could go on a World Cup in 2026.
I think he's going to have them in competitions like, I mean, you look at Euros, the last two Euros, they were in the finals, aren't they?
Yeah, and as I said,
so, I mean, England is a good team. You put a good coach, a solid philosophy behind them, and players that believe in that coach and philosophy, that could be just that extra little push they need. So, yes, I think you're looking at Euros, you're looking at a 2026 World Cup, so long as he's still there, and he's got the time. He's got more than enough time, a year and a half, basically, to get everyone on board, to bleed in new players, to solidify everything. England is going to be dangerous in 2026.
Yes. And this is a guy that took PSG to a Champions League final. He won the Champions League with Chelsea just 6 months into his tenure. So, this guy knows tournaments. This guy knows how to win.
He does.
And I said after the Euros, England need a manager to take them from B to C because Southgate took them from A to B. Tuchel is the guy because he has.
Tuchel's the guy also because, and it's going to sound weird, is he has the ego to handle England.
Yeah, like
right. He has the ego to handle England. England is one of the most difficult national jobs you have in the world. And you know what? I think you put it very, very well that Gareth Southgate took them from where they were, moved them up. But he's done what he can.
Yeah. And in the end,
you need a guy now with you need a guy that, you know, is a little bit overinflated, that has the credentials and the know-how to back it up, but you need someone that is a little bit larger than life.
Yeah, and I cannot believe what I'm reading from the English media here. Look at the Daily Mail. I'm not going to show it here because it just was so bad. Look at their headline: "A dark day for England. 3 lines gamble on a German. But Tuchel has only 18 months to prove it."
You
Dark
got
day.
to. Well, I mean, there are flashes of Winston Churchill's speeches there. I mean, you got to remember anything in English media that has to do with England and Germany is going to go back to
Yeah,
1939 to 1945.
I get the rivalry, like England, Germany, not just football, but
Yeah,
come on, you got the best coach that out of a job for
yeah.
your national team. And
It's
then
going to
this,
be it's going to be on Tuchel to change that narrative, and he
yeah,
knows it. I
and
don't
this,
think he's going to shy away from that at all.
this, Dean, what's his face
And
guy?
let's be honest. Let's be honest. The Daily Mail in England is like the National Post in Canada.
Yeah, and this Dean Ashton guy on Sky Sports says, "I'm a little bit underwhelmed. Sure, he won the Champions League with Chelsea, but it was Frank Lampard who got them through the group.
You're
Chelsea
telling me
beat
you want
Sevilla, Krasnodar,
I'm
and
sorry, but are
Rennes."
you telling me you want Frank Lampard? I get that he's English, but that should matter nothing. Frank Lampard would run this into the ground.
Yeah. Lampard beat
So
Sevilla,
Frank
Krasnodar,
Lampard
and
should be
Rennes.
managing in like League Two or the National League.
Or even MLS. I think he'd do well there. With a lower tier club.
Sure, you can manage in MLS, just not for my team.
Yeah. Tuchel beat Atletico Madrid, Porto, Real Madrid, and Man City on the way to the Champions League. So
yeah, that's someone that is.
I don't know who this Dean Ashton guy is anyway. So
Dean
I
Ashton?
don't get English. Yeah, I don't get English media.
Yeah, we know Dean Ashton, but yeah.
But anyway, good for England.
Yep.
I think they made a great choice, and we'll see how Tuchel does. So that'll conclude this week's episode. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Yes, still working on some stuff for the future. Hopefully next month. I don't know when exactly because there's been some. I want to take my time with it.
Yep.
Just to say the least. And decision day, we'll cover that. Playoffs, Whitecaps, more Canadian stuff. Europe club football is back this weekend. So we'll be back next week to talk all about it. So that concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.